My name is Anthony Metzger. I'm a winemaker and a sommelier. Here at Wines of the World, I Skype and record interviews with winemakers from around the world. On today's episode of Wines of the World, I have a really fun interview with a winemaker named Lloyd. Lloyd is from New Zealand but will be joining me live from the UK. He'll be sharing with us exactly what it's like to travel the planet and make wine.
Hey.
Hey Lloyd, how you doing?
Good, man, good.
So, well, welcome to the show, Wines of the World. Thanks for being here.
Not a problem.
Yeah, and so you're a traveling winemaker. Where are you from originally?
I'm from New Zealand.
You are? Okay.
Yeah.
I could kind of tell by the accent.
Yeah, it gives it away, yeah.
Sure. And so you're going to be moving back to Australia to do a harvest here pretty soon?
Back to New Zealand, to Tohu in the Awatere Valley.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what kind of wine do they make over there?
So, because it's in Marlborough, it's predominantly Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah.
But also, they do some really good bubbles and like pretty good Pinot as well.
Sure.
Yeah,
nice.
Mostly Sav.
Sweet. Okay. Nice. So, what would you say, because you have worked in Australia, what would you say is the difference between the New Zealand wine and Australian wine? What's kind of the distinct difference between those two wine-producing countries?
Well, I think predominantly Australia is red wines, and we're sort of predominantly white wine.
Okay.
Definitely, it's your sort of flagship varieties.
Mm-hmm.
But so where I was in Australia, we're just out of Margaret River, really.
Sure.
And that's in WA, which is not really the same as the rest of Australia.
Okay. And how so?
It's on the other side for one thing. It's probably one of the most isolated places in the world.
Yeah, because it's right below Perth, the city of Perth, right?
Yeah.
And I heard that's like the most isolated city on Earth.
Yeah.
You're
like
3 hours below that.
You can look on the map behind you, and there'll be nothing from Perth all the way to India. So
yeah.
And then it's pretty much the same going the other way, except it's desert.
Sure. So, yeah. What is it like living in the most isolated place on Earth? What do you do for fun during the day? I mean, obviously you're a winemaker, so you're working the harvest, but then once you're done working for the day and you got a weekend off, what do you do over there?
Well, like the beaches around Margaret River are just amazing, like
really?
Just flat out amazing.
Wow.
I do like a lot of sort of distance running, and so when I was running. So when I was there, I was like, I'd finish work and I'd go for a big run down the beach and then have a swim and a beer or a glass of wine and watch the sunset, and then
sweet.
It was actually probably one of the best vintages I had.
Really?
Yeah.
Living the dream. So you done a harvest in Canada.
Yeah.
What was it like for you to travel to Canada? Because for you, that's almost the opposite side of planet Earth.
So they had like a stupidly hot summer.
Oh, really?
And it gets really cold up there, but also it's where I was is maybe I'm going to say about 200k north of the US border, and like a really big wide valley, and they get like a stupidly long hot summer.
Really? Oh, okay.
So like the winery I was working at sort of specialized in Pinot Noir and Riesling. Like it did exclusively Pinot and Riesling.
And they grew it themselves, or?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like the main varieties around the region were like Bordeaux blends and like a Bordeaux styled Sav Sem.
Sure.
So yeah, like it's definitely not what I expected at all from Canada in that aspect. I was thinking it's going to be like bubbles and Riesling and maybe a bit of Pinot.
White and hybrids, but that's interesting.
I think that's what the rest of Canada's like, to be fair.
Sure. This one just has a nice microclimate that they can get away with growing Pinot Noir and such. If you could make a harvest anywhere on Earth, where would you go? Even if they're not producing wine right now, if you could go anywhere on Earth and make some wine, where would you like to go?
I think Champagne would be one I'd be really interested in.
And why is that?
I just sort of like the whole, like the bubbles winemaking is like sort of really interesting and stimulating. But of course, you'd have to follow on and do the tirage and everything as well.
Yeah.
With that. But yeah, that's probably champagne.
That'd be cool. Yeah. In your opinion, what is it that makes a good winemaker?
It's like I think that you need to be quite in tune with like what markets you're making the wine for, because like you can be a good commercial winemaker, but that doesn't mean you're going to be considered a good winemaker by other winemakers.
Sure.
Or sommeliers. You know, there's different levels of wine and different requirements for making them. Mm-hmm. But I think one of the main things is like an understanding of the region and the terroir and the microclimates of the vineyards, how to handle the fruit to bring out the better flavors that the fruit's got.
Yeah. Really have an understanding of the fruit and what, because the winemaker really has to work around the fruit that he or she receives, because winemaking is, you just kind of guide the juice and turn it into the wine through the fermentation process, but it's really all up to the grape. So the more you can understand your grapes and the flavors and what you can do with it, the better off you'll be, right?
Yeah, exactly. So there's aspects of it that you can use to bring forward things of the fruit. Mm-hmm. Like you can do more or less whole bunch, you know, you can macerate it longer, skin contact, more solids in your juice, all sorts of things like that. But at the end of the day, you can't actually add anything into it. Yeah. And you can't really take anything out either. So
So you've obviously got a lot of experience traveling and making wine and being all over the place and whatnot. What would you recommend to a young person, or heck, even an older person who's thinking of quitting their job and getting into winemaking and wants to become a winemaker and travel and do vintages abroad? What would you say to he or she, or what would you recommend about becoming a traveling winemaker?
As long as they're not in it for the money, like as long as they're in it for like the lifestyle and because they love wine and they love food and they want to see new places, like go for it. Mm-hmm. Like just jump in and do it. Find somewhere that'll take you for a vintage and do it.
Yeah. Just go for it, huh?
Yeah.
So here's a kind of a fun, different question. It's if you could have a bottle of wine, any bottle of wine on earth, or any bottle of wine from history, going back from the beginning of wine producing, and you could drink it with any person on earth right now or from the past, what wine would you drink and who would you drink it with?
The bottle of champagne that Winston Churchill opened at the end of the Second World War, you know, like that'd be pretty interesting. But like, you know, a lot about wine that you taste and that you have is like the memories of the occasion.
Sure.
I don't know, and I couldn't tell you who I'd want to actually drink it with either, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just reading today as well that they opened up like a 113-year-old wine like back home in New Zealand from Martinborough, and that was apparently still tasting good, and that's quite surprising. Like something like that would be interesting to see as well.
Sure.
So that's the oldest New Zealand wine ever drunk, obviously.
Okay. 113-year-old bottle of wine they just opened and is still good, huh?
Yeah, apparently.
And what makes it? Why can a wine age that long? What makes it survive?
High acid and big tannins.
The acidity and the tannins.
Yeah. So I mean that would be an interesting one to try.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Is there anything else? Any other wine stories or anything that have occurred in your life as a winemaker?
I don't know if it's like super appropriate, but like another thing that happened in Margaret River was like, I don't even know if it's legal, to be honest, but on the way to work, like, because there's just kangaroos everywhere there, like dawn and dusk, you know, like they're all over the roads and that.
Yeah.
Like, we hit one on the way to work.
Oh.
So like it wrecked the car, like this little Ford Fiesta, because it's what you do as a traveling winemaker, you know, like shitty small cars.
Yeah.
But like, so this kangaroo made a mess out of it, like lost the bonnet and the bumper and everything.
Jeez. Wow.
So the kangaroo went into the boot. We got to the winery and like skinned it and boned it out and took the legs, and the kangaroo went really well with the Syrah from just south of Margaret River that the winery made, like kangaroo steaks and Syrah for dinner. staring out over the beach. Pretty good dinner. It's probably like one of my favourite memories from winemaking.
Are you serious? Wow.
Yeah, serious, man.
Dang. So you're on your way to work, and you hit a kangaroo, and you throw him in the trunk.
Yeah.
And you bring them to the winery, and you butcher them, and you cook them up.
Well, I didn't butcher them or skin them or anything. That was the other guy that I was with. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then how did you cook them? You throw them over a fire or what?
Just on the barbecue. Yeah. Just cut the leg into steaks, basically. Sure. Kangaroo steaks and West Australian Shiraz. Match made in heaven.
Do people actually eat kangaroo typically or no?
It's there. Like, you find it in every supermarket.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what does kangaroo taste like?
It's quite similar to venison, eh? Like, not quite as gamey, but like that sort of...
Oh, it is? Okay.
Sort of really lean red meat and
nice.
Reasonably strong flavoured. It's actually good, like, as long as you like that gaminess.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, that's a sweet story.
Yeah, man.
Nice. For sure. Okay. Well, I think that pretty much covers everything we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Well, thanks for talking with me about everything, about your experiences.
Hope it was helpful, eh?
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Wines of the World. Make sure you check in next week as I will be interviewing another winemaker. If you have any questions that you would like me to ask a winemaker during any of my interviews, just reach out to me through my social media accounts, which you can find on my website, winesoftheworld.info. Be sure to check my website tomorrow and every single day of this week, as I will be releasing some really fun, interesting wine stories. Thank you, and please be sure to subscribe.